Welcome to The Growth Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. I am an entrepreneur who created my company, National Business Capital, from literally $0 out of my spare bedroom to over $2 billion in business loans secured for entrepreneurs nationwide. Since 2007, I have seen just about every type of business. I provide money and help entrepreneurs access capital to scale fast, but I also know that it's possible for you as you scale to replace yourself, to build systems, processes, and great teams of people that can live on without you so you can actually enjoy your life and your company can still grow. I will not only tell you the peaks and valleys of my story, but I will also bring on world-class entrepreneurs to tell their stories and share their lessons on their growth journeys. Welcome to The Growth Show. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Growth Show. With me is your host, Joe Camerato. Today, I've got a special guest, Glenn and Amber from VestorPro.com. And obviously, as you guys know, my show is all about entrepreneurs making it happen and most importantly, growing and continue to grow. And Glenn and Amber are absolutely doing that. So welcome, guys, to the show, and thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so really excited. You know, I know I've spoken with you guys in the past and have been on your podcast. We had a really great conversation. I think last time we spoke, prime rate was at 7%. It's at 7.5% now.
Has it gone up? Yeah.
And so it's gone up again. So we're in this wild market, and really excited to have you guys on because there's just so much talk about real estate, and you guys are experts in real estate. You teach real estate. You help educate people and help people. Listen, I work with a ton of business owners, and business owners all the time want to put their money to work in different things. And obviously real estate is a real great place to do that. So I thought we can talk about that today. But, this market that we're in, it's a wild market. Housing prices just went up. People feel like they're going to come, down. We're starting to see them come down. Rates are up. Are we going into a recession? Are we not going into a recession? And really just curious from your guys' perspective, what are your thoughts on where this market is, and what are you guys doing right now when it comes to real estate and investing? I think, you guys, I think flipped 80 or 100 homes just last year alone.
Yeah, we've done about 1,000 in our career. We did about 82 last year, about 101 the year before that. So we have a machine that works. We're fortunate enough to, after COVID, got to move to the beach in Florida. We've been down here for a year and a half, but our business operates in New York. So if your listeners are business owners, we have really, I think master is too strong of a word sometimes, but we really have a good system where we can live where we want to live, and yet our business can run without our daily involvement and do that many houses and that many transactions. So that's a big part of what we do, I think, is help people understand that lifestyle, how that lifestyle looks and works, all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, and perspective changes everything too. Like you're mentioning interest rates, and to us, we got started at the end of 2007, so things were different then than they are now. And I was just having a conversation with my contractor yesterday, and he was like, I don't see how anybody's going to buy a house these days with interest rates so high. But from our perspective, they're normal. The 3%, the 4%, those were low.
Good point.
Easy low. Yeah.
Those were abnormal. They were good.
Yes.
But they were abnormal. So the market is more normalizing than going up, if anything else. So,
I think the people listening to the news right now, they're all freaked out and panicked, and I think they're gonna be really careful listening to the news right now. I think people forget the news clickbait, right? They're dying to get you just to when they say, "Oh my God, the world is falling," you go, "Really? Let me click on that." And people, that's what they're trying to get us to do, is to get nervous about that. And I go back to when Amber and I first started in 2007. And it was 2007, we bought our first house. We sold it in early 2008. And that right then, the world went to hell in a handbasket. Like literally, we had house under contract and all the mortgages were pulled. Banks were shutting down. There's Lehman Brothers. Everybody's shutting down. The crash happens in 2008. And everybody's going, real estate.
Yep. That's when I started my company.
Yeah, run for real estate, run. I mean, everybody, and people that were pretty smart business that I knew said, "Oh, don't do real estate now." And I thought, everybody's running that way. Most people are broke and unhappy. I'm going to run that way. I'm going to run into the fire. So I ran in and found out it wasn't a fire. It was a great time to start a real estate business. Now, I didn't know at the time because I was listening to the news a lot. Like you watch the news, and social media wasn't quite as prevalent as it is today. Right now, as you wake up in the morning, it's right in your face, right? And so
Yeah, yeah.
Noise though. It's nothing but noise. Like, I
it
mean,
is
it's good to
Even
keep
if you don't watch the news today, you're watching the news if you go on social
right,
media, right? Because we're
absolutely.
just
right.
getting hit by, if you open your phone, I mean, even if you don't even intentionally read anything, the news things pop on your phone, like the news app, and you read a headline. So no matter
Yeah,
what, you're watching the news, and
yeah,
it's all doom and gloom.
It's
yeah.
good to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, just, to have a general idea. But, think about like, how does it really affect your life? Like even who's in office, how does that affect your life going
Yeah.
forward? So sometimes it's just like, it is just noise. And it's like, if you just focus on what you need to get done, like in 2007, everybody's telling us to get out of real estate, but we were making money.
Yeah.
Why do we want
Yeah.
to get out? It's doing well for us,
Yeah.
and it's done well
Yep.
for us ever since. And the thing about even the market changing, yes, your strategy might need to change a bit. The way you acquire houses, like right now, there's definitely some different strategies to buy houses because so many people have low interest loans. So there might be a different strategy to make that a win-win for everybody. But there's always opportunity in real estate. And real estate has statistically been the very best way for average people to create wealth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And listen, I started my business in '07, went right into craziness, racked up credit card debt, dealt with, my house was, underwater. I had an investment property that was a disaster, and fought really through all that. And, some of the best growth in my business, came, right after coming out of that recession. And, when I was doing business lending, really took off, access to capital outside of banks. And it was a, catalyst, but, there was times when all that was happening and I thought, should I just walk away and go get a job? And, you can get really caught up in all that fear. And it was really one of the best times to actually start my business, and a lot of businesses actually. So
I
it's
think
very,
it's
very interesting. I do believe it's all perspective and mindset.
the market we're in now. It's when it first started a year ago. It kind of see the signs of things starting to come. We said, this going to be just like 2007, 2008. Well, it's not just like it. It's similar, but it's not just like it.
It's very different. Yeah, it's. I think it's. There's definitely some similarities, but
Yes.
definitely a lot of differences for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more differences and similarities, right? But it's the only similarity is recession talk, and I'm sure we're due for one. We're due for it. I think we're probably in it, but it's hard to say when and where, whatever. Never an exact time, but I think that we're there now. I think that we're going to start seeing people that we've already seen a bunch of layoffs from big tech companies. We've seen a lot of layoffs come in there. We've seen things start to happen. People panic. They start to sell assets, right? That's usually what people do. They want to get cash in the banks. They want to, so they stop spending. People panic. So the news creates all that stuff. So, I think that we're going to see opportunities in the market to buy real estate. I don't think we're going to see rock bottom prices like in '08 when people like Florida dropped down to 30% of its value or whatever crazy number it was. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see, some softening, but at the end of the day, people still have to have a place to live. And that's really what this boils down to. For us, we like real estate because it's a fundamental piece of our economy. People have a place
Yeah,
to live no matter what. Now, we're telling people now to focus on the first time home buyer. That's really where we put our focus right now. Is first. We always did too.
Yeah. That was always our buy box.
Last 2 years, it became a bigger buy box because everybody was selling everything back then. It was crazy. But first time home buyers, no matter what happens in the world, no matter where the economy is, people are always wanting to leave their parents' house, right? They want to come out of college. They want to buy a house. They get married. They pop out a few puppies, right? They want to have some kids, and all of a sudden they're like, I need more room. And the natural evolution of life, people still want to buy houses. And first time home buyers, they rarely shop for rates. Whatever the rate is when they come
yeah.
up to
They
me
just
and say,
they just need a house. Yeah,
I'm ready to buy a house. How much does it cost
yeah,
me per month?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. And then they're going to buy less of a house because they can't afford as much, but they don't know that because they weren't shopping a year ago.
yeah,
So
yep.
to me,
Makes
it's
sense.
I mean, they're going to go in and buy a house. They're going to say, listen, I can afford it. $2,000 a month. Great. I can afford that. And they'll buy a house. So we teach all of our students to really focus on the first time home buyers. That's really where a lot of it is. First time home buyers is where I think you're going to create a lot of wealth. And whether you turn those into rentals or flip them or whatever, we teach a lot of those methods. But yeah, there's still a great market. You just can't go out and you can't do speculative investing now. You can't say I'm going to buy this house now and I'm going to hope the appreciation makes me a $50,000 profit, because people are doing that, and that's
Oh
risky.
yeah. Yeah.
That's just
Yep.
risky.
100%.
And a lot of people get burned right now. People getting burned, going, "Ah, crap! I can't sell my house."
Yeah, especially in that $1 million, $2 million price
Oh yeah.
range, where it's like, I'm going to do this, fancy it up, buy it for $1 million, put in 200, sell it for 1.8. Like that stuff's, I see, especially around me, those are all the properties that are just sitting there. There's
Yeah.
a house exactly like that. I think they bought for 1.2, put, probably 100, 200 grand into it. And they were, listed it for 2 and change, like that house is not selling for 2 million, right
You have
now.
some
And it's
cash
been sitting
buyers.
there.
If some cash buyers at that level, but but your market, if you're waiting on just cash buyers for that market, that's a much smaller group of people that are going to pay cash
Yep.
for.
Yep.
We bought our house down here on the beach, and it's in the millions, multi-millions of dollars. And so I honestly, we wouldn't have bought it if the rate wasn't 2.875. I mean, I called the mortgage broker and said, just for the fun of it, what would this cost me? And he's like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What? It was
Wow.
cheap enough where it wasn't. I didn't have to sell my house in New York. I'm like, okay. So again, we were able to purchase something that, thank God, we bought it right before the appreciation took off. So we bought it, and then it took off. So another good move we had, I guess, lucky if you will. But those people are going to be spending that kind of money on those big houses now.
The
Yep.
difference I see is that in the previous market, last year and a couple of years before that during COVID, the way the market was covered a lot of sins. Like you could buy a house and still
Yeah,
end up
you could.
even if you made a lot of
A
mistakes.
lot of people made a lot of mistakes and made money.
Yes.
And
A lot of mistakes, and he got lucky, right? And it just worked out. Yeah,
And
it's
so
and
now
just
people are more concise about your numbers and knowing what you're getting into. But there's still a ton of money to be made if you do it right.
100%. It's just like anyone buying stocks or Bitcoin. You buying anything in the up market, like you got a lot of room for error and still look like a genius.
Oh yeah.
And
Right.
but the market always corrects and calls out who is smart and maybe who's not as smart, maybe who got lucky and I think you're just seeing that happen now. I was joking with somebody, this past summer, I was saying to people, hey, let me ask you, last summer, so in 2021, when you went to any barbecue, everybody was a Bitcoin, crypto, everyone was a trader. Oh, like, wow, what an experienced trader talking about how they're crushing it. And I said to a buddy of mine, let me ask you, have you heard any of that at any of the barbecues recently? And because when people are crushing it, making money, everyone wants to talk about it and everyone's a genius. But when that market turns, it's amazing that no one wants to talk about how much money they lost because they didn't sell and time the market the right way. So, I feel like it's like that, and everything. But it's always fun in an up market to hear, who's the greatest investor of all time.
Yeah, the self-proclaimed, right? There's going to be a lot of those people that won't be. Honestly, they have been kind of clogging up the works for real investors like us, and people that want to do it for a living, and people that want to do a few houses a year. The people that came in and said, "Let's just catch the wave." There were hundreds of thousands that came in and bought a house. They paid too much for it, so they created this false sense of value for sellers because they were paying so much trying to catch the appreciation, and so that didn't help the market either. So all of a sudden, what I think will happen, we'll see in 2023, we're going to see more of those people fade off because they'll be like, "Oh, this is hard." It's not hard. You just have to know what to do.
Yeah.
You can't. If they say it's hard, it's because they came in like knowing nothing and making money and going, "Wow, this is a piece of cake." But now it's a real business. It's a real investment business where you have to buy low. You got to manage a property, manage it right. And we know that you can still make $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 on a property if you buy it right on a flip. And, we have like 13, 14 Airbnbs. 13. Airbnbs we have. And so we have all that. We teach all that income. That still's going just fine. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's crashing." Maybe in the communities that you do it in, not the ones that we do it in.
Well, and I read an article on that yesterday too, and I was thinking the exact same thing as you were just saying. I think this time is going to weed out a lot of the people that were just in it for. That's a good thing for sure. But I was reading an article yesterday about the Airbnbs, and a lot of people jumped on that wave too, right? During COVID, booking.
Oh yeah, everybody. Yep.
But those people, a lot of those people, not all, but a lot of those people ended up overpaying for their houses. And then now they're starting to see a decline in the reservations. So those people may end up, and they didn't necessarily plan for a plan B.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and did you buy something in an area that's always going to draw people that place, like next to Disney, just as a silly example or whatever? And it's funny, like I think back when I look back, especially going through leading up to 08, 09, which I lived through, and I was in the mortgage business, then starting my company, and then living through a stock market run or two, and then just living through what we went to. When everyone and their mother starts, is talking about stocks or crypto or real estate, I think it's it's time to really start paying attention. So it's interesting. I mean, it's like I remember leading up to 08, 09, everybody I knew was a real estate investor. And they were doing silly things behind houses at 100% no money down, and when that market turned, it was definitely a big challenge.
You know what's interesting? I've talked about like the crypto stuff. Maybe that has a big future, maybe it doesn't. I think that remains to be seen. I don't know. But the thing that we've always liked about real estate is it has the track record to go behind it. So that's
and it's a real asset.
Right.
It's a real asset.
Right.
Yeah.
We should spend our focus and our time because, really, like he said, you can talk about all the virtual reality stuff that you want to. People still have to have a roof over their head.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
yes, it's so true.
That's why we love real estate so much.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be here long after I'm gone. If my kids want to sell off my
always will be. It might be built a little bit differently. Things might change, but it's still people are still gonna need houses. 100%. It's been like that since like in my town was like started in like 1605. Like there's houses that were built in 1665 where I live. You're still gonna need a house.
Yeah,
100%.
For sure.
So when someone works with you, because it's interesting, there's a lot of stigma too. I love what you guys said earlier. A lot of times you think you have to only do things in your backyard, and you guys are living in Florida. You flipped 82 properties in New York while living in Florida, which is just amazing. But when someone goes to like what is it that you guys are teaching? Are you teaching just fix and flip? Is it a combination of that and maybe making a decision on buy and hold? You talked about having Airbnb properties. Like, what's your mix look like, and what is it exactly if someone went to work with you, or maybe some owners, business owners, entrepreneurs that watch my channel, like why would they want to work with you, and what would they get out of that?
So first I'll say this, because you started another path I thought you were going to go down, and I want to address this. One of the other things that's happened because of this booming economy is a lot of people think they're really good. They got really lucky in the last 3 or 4 years, and now they're out there teaching courses and out there, oh, follow me, and here's my car, and here's me, I'm rich, and I have a jet, and I see more of that crap than I've ever seen before. It just seems like it's really exploded ever since the real estate exploded. So these people that have never been through a down cycle, a high interest rate cycle, the weirdness that we're in now, recession, they know nothing about how to really invest as a real estate investor. So don't be misled. I'll tell your listeners that. Don't be misled by the people that have been successful in the past 3 or 4 years. That's not success in real estate, because anybody could have made money during that. There probably are some good people in there, but a lot of them I see out there teaching now, and I know some of them personally, and I'm like, that's not true. Like, you're not even that successful. So it's killing me when I see stuff out there. So what we teach, we focus on a few fundamentals. We teach on how to flip properties like you see on HGTV, right? We teach that. We teach how to wholesale properties. So we do 75% of our deals are wholesale deals, where we just put it under contract and sell to another cash investor, make about 20 grand on doing that every deal. And then and that's no money, no credit, that kind of stuff. And then we teach how to do long-term and short-term rentals. And Amber manages all the short-term rental business, and Amber and our son manage all the short-term rental business that we have. But we help people focus on that, how to build wealth. But we also teach how to build a business that you don't have to do everything yourself.
How to be an owner, not an operator.
Right.
Yep. And I'm all about that. And I think that's key and super important. You talked about earlier, like building out processes and systems, and that's key to building a successful business.
It is.
Yeah, if you're constantly, and I would say that our business works down here in Florida, and we still have all that going on in New York because we set it up right. We don't necessarily encourage people to go flip houses across the country if they're not there.
100%.
Getting started, it's definitely best to start in your backyard or somewhere local to you that you're familiar with at least. And then as you grow your team and have some good people in place, then you have some other choices that you can make with regards to that.
Sure.
And I was going to say that earlier. It's a really good point because I'm assuming that you have a team in place.
Yes.
You've got, the contractor relationships in place. There's a process to check in on the progress. Technology has absolutely helped with that stuff, so you can see what's going on. But you got to have that team in place.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though that we wish we had started earlier was, we got into real estate investing and started flipping because we were like super desperate and needed cash and large chunks of it to pay off some previous debt and whatnot. But one thing we do wish we had started earlier was to grow our rental portfolio.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of your audience could really benefit from, because that has created passive income for us. And when you have passive income, that's life-changing. That gives you a lot of choices in life. That's what gives you freedom.
That's what allowed us to buy this house in Florida.
Right.
Was we were, when I got there, I called up and said, okay, I put this much down. What would the payment be? When he told me, I said, that's well within our residual income from our rental business.
And I think that
it's crazy.
When I first heard of, and maybe some other people have this idea too, when I first heard of owning rental properties, like it was a big turnoff to me because I'm like, I don't want to be a freaking landlord. I don't want the 2 o'clock in the morning, my toilet's clogged or I'm locked out of the house phone call. It never occurred to me that you have a property management company that handles all of that for you. You
pay a little bit extra, just like you'd pay an employee,
right?
And you can remove that from. Especially if you have a high, number of rentals, you almost have to have that because how are you going to manage all that stuff?
We encourage that, but it's a case of you don't know what you don't know. So if there's people out there that think I don't want to be a typical landlord, you don't have to be. You get it set up right from the get-go, and all of that is handled for you, and it really is passive.
Yeah. Now that makes complete sense. And my biggest thing that I talk about, and I think is so important, is you've got to, especially as a business owner, you've got to diversify yourself outside of your business, and you've got to build other businesses and revenue streams. And I'm not like, and whether that's in the market, like you got your 401k, okay, great. But you need, I think, other investments outside of your business, whether it's stocks and or real estate and other things. Because I think too, as just an owner, a lot of people never think about this. But if you're just an owner and you have your one business, that's great. But that's like having all of your money in one stock, right? And it is very risky, and things change, and sometimes things change that are just out of your control that you never could even plan for or see coming. Right. So hence COVID. So I think it's really important to have different things, and myself being diversified, it's helped me get through challenging times. And there's times where maybe you double down your business and you aren't able to make as much, and that's intentional. But you're able to do that because maybe you're making some more money over here. And I think it just puts you in a really great, powerful position. And just going back to processes and systems, I think it's so important as an owner that you put those processes and systems in place so you have the time to focus on other areas outside of your business, because I think it's really necessary as you grow. And I think a lot of people don't think that way. And also, putting those processes and systems in place brings a lot more value to your business, because at some point you're going to age out or get tired or whatever it might be, and you might want to sell. And if the business is just on you, and there's not those processes and systems, it's going to make it less valuable. So there's just so many reasons for the processes and systems.
I was going to say something, but I think you're going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, I think that's a really good point. And I think a lot of us, especially if you're entrepreneurial and type A, a lot of us tend to be control freaks anyway. And we have to be like, have our hands in everything. And we get so busy working in the business that we never have time to either work on it or on something else. And so when you do feel comfortable enough and can grow enough in yourself to let go of those reins and put a trust, maybe they're not going to do it as good as you. Maybe they're not going to do it exactly like you. But that's okay, because it's going to allow you to step away and do something else, or grow the business a different way, or start a new business or a branch or whatever.
What I was going to say was, and all good points, the systems are wonderful. If you don't have the right person in there to do
yeah.
it, though, forget it.
Yeah.
I've written some of the best systems in the world, and if you don't have the right person, you will never walk away from that role.
True.
You'll have to babysit, hold their hand. They'll make mistakes, too many mistakes. They'll screw up. You know what I mean? If you have the wrong, when you have, on the other hand, when you have the right person, man, they can make a system fly. They can make it better. They can do it better. Some people think you can't do that work as good as me. Worst thing to say as an entrepreneur.
Oh, BS. Yeah.
A lot of times they can do it better.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%. There, I couldn't agree more. And I always say process, systems, people. And there was something. There's been a few things in my business, but there was something that I said that nobody could do. Only I could do this, and that's been passed along to I don't even know how many people now. 4, 5. And if you ask me to do that thing now, I don't even know how to do it anymore. You know, like, and there's so many things now in the business that people do way better than I can, and that's okay. You know, and it's really, I think that's a part of growth, and releasing control and having confidence. But it takes time, and it's got to be with the right people, and you got to take a few steps back. Sometimes you bring on that person, you got to do double work to get them up and trained. But there's, there is a means to that end, and I think it's really important. And it's actually really funny because all this stuff does go back to, what we're talking about within real estate and investing is if you don't do these things, you'll never have the time to get outside your business and go do this on your own, or whether partner up with great folks like you and maybe give up a little, but you don't have to deal with it. And there's different things out there where you can park your money with groups of people that can you could power up together and do things. So there's always a few different ways that you can do stuff too if you really want to get it done. But either way, if you don't have the time and can't get out of your business, you can never have those conversations.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, that's the only way you can really have freedom. We get in business for ourselves to have freedom, and then one day we open our eyes and go, well, this sucks. I'm working twice as much. I don't make any money. It takes a point to, you got to get the right people on your team so you can step away, and then you have to trust them, and that's, if you once you trust but verify, right? Trust and verify.
100%.
Yeah. I've made that mistake before. Yeah. Cause sometimes I think sometimes we want the freedom so bad as entrepreneurs, we just trust them. I've done that. Oh, she's got it. She's got it good. And it turns out she isn't doing anything. Like, she's doing the worst job ever. Cause so you got to be careful with that too. So,
but trust, verify, and set some some goals that you could check in on.
Yes.
Checks and balances.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. 100%. So, again, this is all about, growing, like what's your plan from here? Like, where do you guys go from here, to continue to grow your business and go to that next level?
It's funny you asked that. We just had a conversation yesterday. I was on the beach. I found there's a spot I usually, cause my knees, I just had knee surgery. So I kind of walk to a certain spot and I rest for a bit. And I'm watching, there's dolphins in the water. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. And I said, what does the next 10 years look like for me? I just turned 54. I'm going to, what's that really? I still have young kids too. So my kids will still be in school. I'll be one of those guys. But we've been asking ourselves, what do we want to do? I think what we're doing now is saying, what is the residual income number that we want to get to in real estate? And we're really working on what that is. Because, there's a number that takes care of your basic needs. And I think we have that. We live a pretty good life. But I think we still have that met, where if we shut every active business down, we still have the residual income to have the life that we want to have. But we want more than that for our kids. So we have to deal with taxes and all that nonsense, and I'll lose depreciation down the road. So I'm trying to figure out what's that number.
Inflation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, inflation. Well, the good part about rents is, though, that rents usually go up. Right. So rents usually go up with inflation. So usually that's good. So we're looking at that, and we're looking at how to figure out, how do we partner with more people? Can we partner with our students on deals? Can we get them to start looking for deals for us? So the evolution of our business is going to another level. Say, how can we build a massive community online? How can we help people? And we're not there yet, but that's really what we are doing. We're going to really make our brand get that much bigger online, because we know that with branding, that changes the game. So we are, prepared to start doing videos every day, like a couple hours a day. So we're working on some things there, and then building that residual income through real estate investing, like building it. Right now, I think it's going to be what we do is single family, but open to discussing bigger things. We have a good friend of ours that does storage, and talk about that maybe. So we're looking at all those avenues and how to make that residual income something that will not only make for an amazing life, amazing retirement, but also an amazing legacy to leave our family. Because there's an asset tied, to the residual. And if you have residual income because you wrote a book, well, that's going to fade out eventually. If you have residual from oil, my brother in Colorado had a oil company oil or natural gas, one of the two. Natural gas, I think. They came through and they paid the town a whole bunch of money and they paid them residual, but eventually that gas started to go lower, right? The amount of fuel, so it went lower. With real estate, you have a hard asset. So if things get really tough and you own $40 million worth of real estate, well, you sell a couple houses. So it's a cool thing for us. So that's kind of where we're at.
But community is really the word that we've been resonating on and a lot lately.
Yeah, we have one, but we want to make it bigger and more specialized, I think. Yeah.
And more inclusive, because I think that's one of the ways the world has evolved and changed, even in the last 10 years or 15 years. When we started out, it was every man for himself.
Yeah.
And we just did pretty much everything solo. But we're seeing with community that, and there's so much that comes with that. There's a value to doing things together with other people. There's there's energy and there's synergy and there's ideas and there's inspiration and there's collaboration and there's partnerships, and there's just so much that can happen within a community. So, like just take, for example, if you're in a rowboat by yourself and doing all of the rowing, it's going to take you a long time to get from point A to point B. But if you've got a whole bunch of people in your rowboat rowing together, you're going to get there a lot quicker. And everybody's happy. You all win together. Yeah. So community is something we're really, really focusing on for the future and talking about what that looks like. And
we've done it in smaller pods, and we did it where we lived in upstate New York. We had a group that met, a couple hundred people that met once a month. It was a great thing. And now we're trying to figure out how do we do that on more of a national scale? How do we do that more of a national scale and keep it still intimate, keep it still, and be able to help people. So that's really where we're at. Just funny you asked that question, because yesterday this conversation came up, like, all right, what does the future look like? Where do you want to get to? So
yeah. Well, I definitely think that you guys are onto something. Yeah, I think you guys are onto something. I think the power of people, could change a lot. The buying power, diversifying into and doing more deals. I think there's a lot of good stuff there, a lot of positives there. I'd be interested in exploring some of that, with you guys and maybe partner up and doing some deals. And there's a few cool relationships that I think I'd love to introduce you guys to, that are, doing kind of something similar. And I feel like you guys would really get along, and there might be something there as well too. But yeah, I really love everything that you guys are doing and staying, committed. I mean, you've done 1,000 homes, so it's safe to say that you guys are experts at this point in what you're doing. And it looks like you're having fun and enjoying it too. And that's probably the most important part. So
it is
definitely, appreciate that. Appreciate all shared. I appreciate that you guys are helping people grow. And, I know you guys got a book coming out. So why don't you share a little bit about that and what, where can folks go and find you guys to learn more about Glenn and Amber?
Our book's not coming out. Our book is out. So you can go to Amazon and pick it up.
Oh, nice.
Well, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's called The Birth of the Everyday Real Estate Investor, How Real Estate, Not Stocks, Create Wealth. So it really just talks about our journey, and it goes back to where it started. It goes into real detail about how you can do anything. So you just go to Amazon and pick that book up, or Amber will give you a site. You can go check out more of our stuff and follow us. We have a show out now, and we have some cool stuff.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of different websites. So we decided to combine it all into one, so people can go to glennandamber.com and find out all about us. Glenn has 2 N's, so that's glennandamber.com, and that has links to our Home Flipping Workshop. It has the book link, the show link, all of our podcasts, all of our social media connections, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the description, everything below from this podcast and video. Awesome. And again, thank you guys for coming on and thank you guys for your commitment to growth. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks so much, Joe. Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you guys. Be well.